Hi there creative, it's Shannon here from the Pigeon Letters design team, and today we're going to be painting a color wheel using only 3 primary colors. So let's have a look at the supplies that you will need to follow along before we dive into this exercise. You'll need a paintbrush. This can be whatever size you want. I am using the Pigeon Letters size 10 round brush, 2 jars of water, and a piece of paper towel. You'll need a piece of watercolor paper. You can sketch your color wheel template onto that in pencil very lightly. Then you will need a palette, something large enough that you can mix 12 different colors without them running into each other. And finally, you'll need to choose your 3 primary colors. So you can use any yellow, red, and blue that you want. Just make sure they're the same temperature. This just helps to avoid any muddy or dull color mixes that you may have when you mix cool and warm primaries together. So try to keep your primaries all in the same color temperature. For this exercise, I am using cadmium yellow, carmine, and ultramarine. Once you've chosen what colors you want to use, now it is time to start adding those primaries to our palette. So if you're using pan watercolors, you can add a few drops of water to activate the paint because you will need a lot of each of these colors. And a good rule of thumb when you're painting with watercolors is that you should always mix more color than you need. So I'm adding quite a lot to this first well on my palette. If you have a flat palette or you're using a ceramic dish or something that doesn't have as much wells, just make sure that you leave enough space in between colors so that they don't run around on the palette or blend together. So then I'm leaving 3 spaces in between my first primary and this next one that I'm adding, which is blue. So the colors that I'm going to be mixing from yellow and blue will all be put in between those 2 colors on my palette, just to help me keep everything nice and orderly. And then you're going to leave out 3 spaces again, and then you're going to add your final primary, which for me is red. Once your colors are all on the palette, it's now time to start painting them into the color wheel. So my first color that I'm going to paint is my yellow, and I'm adding this into one of the outer sections on the color wheel. I'm using a large brush just so that it can help me to fill in the shape a lot quicker. This is going to be a very simple exercise that is very repetitive, so just having this larger brush helps to speed things along. Once I'm finished adding in that yellow, I'm going to clean my brush, and then I'm going to use the paper towel, and I'm going to dab my brush on that paper towel to get rid of the water that is on the brush. I don't want to be taking a wet brush into my already mixed color because that will dilute the pigment, and I don't want it to be diluted. So then I'm going to paint in another section on the color wheel, and I've left 3 spaces in between the yellow and the blue, just like I did on the palette, and then I'm just going to fill in that shape. Once I am finished filling in that shape, I'm then going to clean my brush again. I want to get rid of all of the pigment. I don't want to contaminate any of these colors. I want my mixes to be as accurate as possible. So then I'm going to dab my brush onto that paper towel to make sure that I've gotten out most of the excess water. and then I'm going to leave out 3 more spaces and paint my final primary color. So when it comes to mixing your colors, these 3 primary colors are colors that cannot be mixed using any other color that is out there. So these primaries are red, yellow, and blue, and all other colors can be made using some combination of these 3 colors. And when these are all mixed together in equal parts, they will cancel each other out and mix a black or even a very dark gray. So once you've added your primaries, now it is time to mix your secondary colors. And the first secondary color that I'm going to mix is green. So this is made with equal parts yellow and equal parts blue. So I'm using a clean and dry brush, and I'm just going to I'm going to load my brush and I'm going to place it in that middle well that is directly in between the yellow and the blue, and I've added 2 loads of that color by just lifting some with my brush and then picking up more and then putting it in that well. Then I'm going to clean my brush and remove all of the excess water by dabbing it on my paper towel. And I'm going to pick up 2 loads of my blue and add it to that yellow that I've just added to the well. And then I'm going to mix them together. I'm going to then paint that color right in between the yellow and the blue on my paper. So as I'm painting this, I'm not worrying too much about painting it evenly. This is just to simply see what the color looks like and paint the color in between the 2 colors that made it. So a secondary color is just any color that is created when you mix equal parts of 2 primary colors together. So like we've just made, we have yellow and blue that makes green. Then we have blue and red that makes purple. And then we have yellow and red that makes orange. So those 2 colors, those other 2 secondary colors are what we are going to mix now. So I'm cleaning my brush and then I'm removing the excess water by dabbing it on my paper towel. Then I'm going to mix my purple. So I'm going to load my brush with 2 sets of blue and add it to the well that is directly between my red and my blue. Then I'm going to load my brush with 2 sets of red and I'm going to mix them together to create my purple. Once I have my purple all mixed, I'm then going to add it to that section in between the red and the blue on my paper. And once I have my purple all filled in, I'm going to clean my brush and then remove the excess water before I then mix equal parts of yellow and red to mix my orange. And once I finish mixing that orange, I'm going to add it onto my paper in between the yellow and the red. So once you've finished adding your secondary colors, now we are going to mix our final set of colors, which are tertiary colors. So these are colors that are created when you mix equal parts of one primary color and one secondary color. So the first tertiary color that we're going to mix is yellow green, and as you probably can guess, we are going to be mixing equal parts of yellow and equal parts of green. So I've loaded my brush with 2 parts yellow, and then I added 2 parts green to the section that is in between the yellow and the green in my palette. And then I'm going to paint that mixed color onto my paper in between the yellow and the green. Then we're going to mix our next tertiary color, which is blue-green. So I'm going to mix equal parts of green and equal parts blue, and then I'm going to add it into that section in between the green and the blue on my palette, and then I'm also going to paint it in between the blue and the green on my paper. The next tertiary color that we're going to mix is blue violet. So I'm going to mix equal parts blue and equal parts violet into that well in between the blue and the violet on my palette. And then I'm going to mix that color and paint it in between the blue and the violet on my paper. The next color we're going to mix is red violet. We're going to be mixing equal parts of red and equal parts of violet into the section of the palette that is in between the red and the violet, and then I'm going to add it to that section on my paper as well. So once you've finished with your red violet, you're going to mix red and orange together to make a red orange and add it to your paper. And now we're going to mix our final color that we have to add to this wheel, and we're going to be mixing a yellow orange. So I'm mixing equal parts orange and equal parts yellow. And that is it for our tutorial today. I hope you enjoyed learning a bit more about color theory and color mixing with watercolors. If you created this color wheel, feel free to share it with me on Instagram at @ByShannonLane so that I can see how it turned out. Thanks so much for joining me today.